I got the call no parent ever wants to get. The year was 1998. I woke up from a night of deep sleep to the phone ringing. When I looked over at the answering machine, there were 11 voice messages. How could this be? 11 messages. How could I not hear the phone ringing 11 times? I was an operating room nurse. I always heard the phone ringing, but not that night. The calls were from the emergency room doctor at the trauma hospital informing me that my 19-year-old daughter was in a car crash. I was lost, devastated, disconnected from my happy world, in shock and disbelief from the senseless tragedy and loss of my beautiful firstborn child. I grabbed my 5-year-old son out of bed, still in his PJs, and hurried to the hospital. I was greeted by the emergency room staff who compassionately escorted me to the intensive care unit where my daughter was. Cheyenne was a lively, radiant young woman, just 19 years old. She was studying to become a certified fitness trainer while applying to the child psychology program at Florida State University. She was very social and loved to bring her friends over to hang out with our horses and ride in the neighborhood. Later the next evening, when I returned home from the hospital, I noticed my daughter's horse laying down in the pasture. When a horse lays down for a long period of time, it can be detrimental due to what's called sand colic, which is a buildup of sand in the stomach. Reluctantly, I dragged myself out to the pasture in the pouring rain and went out to check on her. I tugged at the horse, calling, "Melody, Melody, get up, please get up." I continued to push on her and call out, "Melody, Melody, please, please get up." She finally raised her head and slowly stood up. At this point, we were leaning on each other. The horse and I walked together in the pasture. It was a rainy, stormy night. I could see the lightning in the distance, but it didn't matter at this point. We were holding each other up. Exhausted from the shock and soaking wet from the pouring rain, I finally released the horse into the pasture and went inside the house to get some rest. An hour later, I stepped outside to check on her. She was laying down again. But when she saw me, she stood right up this time. My fear was that I might lose her too. So I called our horse vet and he came over with his wife in the pouring rain to examine her. After his examination, he said, "Michele, the horse does not have sand in her stomach. In fact, your horse is grieving." Grieving? How could that be? How a horse grieving? I was intrigued, yet perplexed to know that horses grieve too. I felt a sense of connection to my daughter. After all, this was the horse she bonded with. It was relieving and comforting enough for me to go to bed and get some much needed rest. It was a sunny South Florida sunrise that woke me the next morning. In a foggy state of shock and disbelief, with my head down, I made it to the driveway outside to take the trash bins to the end of the long driveway for pickup. In my peripheral vision, I noticed my daughter's horse excitedly following me along the pasture fence line, something she never did before that day. When I looked over, she gazed at me and locked eyes with me, and with her big brown eyes suddenly jumped up and frolicked away, much like when my daughter, who was a cheerleader and gymnast, would randomly jump up and do a cartwheel out of nowhere. This was so profound and inspiring to me, and I was looking for answers. It led me to reach out to my Native American Indian friend and share this special moment with him. He said, "My ancestors believed that the human spirit can move through an animal into the atmosphere. Now, I am a spiritual person, but never knew this could happen through an animal. This engaging in spiritual connection to horses and healing took me on a new path in life that led me to complete a master's in counseling with an internship in equine psychotherapy, helping at-risk youth and families dealing with trauma and grief. More recently, I completed my doctorate in nursing practice, specializing in surf therapy for veterans and first responders. I still miss my daughter like crazy and continue to be inspired to share the amazing power and healing connection of experiential therapy with others. Thank you.
Beautiful.